So here we are. Give me one moment. All right. So good night or good evening, whenever you watch it. Good morning, good afternoon. Um, I'm doing this weekly update kind of late, real late. I fell asleep and I had meant to do it at like 3 o'clock, but doesn't really matter. I'm not really worried about any of that. I wanted to pull this up. Got some stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about. Uh, an honest review is just I just wanted to really to show some of the stuff that's going down right now, and just to go over where how we started off so far this year and then where we're at now. But I read this article, very interesting, because there's a lot being said without them actually saying it. Uh, Even though it says after veto, some lawmakers see a new emergency, fixing the act Trump invoked. Now, let me go ahead and say something real quick. Number one, the separation of powers, which was established in the Constitution, so that way no branch of the government could become too powerful. The separation of powers is nothing more than a check and balance for each of the branches of government. Um, this is about that check and balance. Now, I'm not gonna go too far into it, but I'm gonna read. I might read the whole thing. We'll see how I feel about it. But I already have the 94th Congress, 1975 to 1976 National Emergencies Act pulled up. We'll read certain parts of that. And what you're gonna understand is the act was created perfectly. Um, um, it's not up to Congress to decide what a sitting president thinks or believes based on tangible information is an emergency. That's not their job. Their job is to legislate. Okay, their job is to put policy into motion. That's it. They vote. Okay, they come to a certain level of agreement. Certain things you need 2/3. Certain things you need 3/4 of a vote. Right, 3 out of 4 people. Right. People forget about these sort of processes that must take place within the legislative body of the government, but this is how it goes. Normally it's 2/3 in the House and then 2/3 in the Senate, but certain things take 2/3 and then 3/4. Can you dig it? However, this is read. Time and again, Congress takes a step to fix a problem, only to end up further aggravating the situation of creating a whole new issue. Such is the case with the National Emergencies Act of 1976, enacted in the post-Watergate era to rein in presidential power. It has instead provided President Trump with the route to expand executive authority in defiance of Congress by declaring a national emergency to fund the wall along the southwestern border. Let's stop right there. I know people want to believe that what they're saying makes any sense, but 1976, I want y'all to really think about this. Somebody born in 76 is going on 43 this year. Okay? So 43 years ago, all right, they enacted this. For there to be presidents on presidents on presidents on through, for them to not be able to pull up, and there's one instance they do using this, but it's not a very good one. You would think that they would be able to dredge up a bunch of different reasonings as to why the National Emergencies Act of 1976 is actually a horrible idea, other than the fact that Trump's team was smart enough, and I'm gonna go back up to the picture so you can see his cabal of characters. But Trump's team was smart enough to dredge this little act up and then use it as a weapon. Now I want y'all to look at these people None of them black folk. None of them black folk. Okay? So they're not worried about you. They don't give a damn about you. If they were even thinking about you, there would be a black person in this picture. Okay? Everybody you're seeing right now, those are the people they're thinking about. All right? Including this Asian looking dude right here in the back, or Arab looking motherfucker, whatever one, doesn't really matter. But you have no real representation there. Not that I can see, just a bunch of white folk and people who want to be white. And the whole point of that is this. I said all that to say this. These are the people who are behind it. No matter how Darth Vader looks over here, or Count Dooku, whichever one you want him to be, it doesn't really matter. Little dark force user. This motherfucker, Mike Pence, man, I'm trying to tell you, that dude, when Trump first got into the office, Trump called him the silent killer of the White House. But best believe some of these ideas that you're seeing come forth are Mike Pence's own ideas. Okay. President Pence is just telling his lackey what he wants him to do, and that's what's going down. But anyway, let me go ahead and keep it pushing. On Friday, the president issued his first veto after Congress rejected that declaration. I want y'all to hear this right here. They pass laws every damn day, just about, in Congress. Laws get struck down in favor of new laws. And when I say struck down, the new law replaces the old law. However, you can call it an amendment, but it's not an amendment if you don't amend a current law and you make a new one that pretty much makes that law null and void. Anyway, the point is this. Every day they make laws. Just his first veto since he's been president happened just on Friday. I need y'all to understand that. All right. So everything that's come to his office, he signed. Right. Do people not understand that? So it's not like when they try to paint the picture that this dude is just unworkable. Statements like that, when you look at the information in its fullness, okay, that makes that unbelievable. Right now, this is all part of the review because we need to understand where they're at right now. The separation of powers fight is about to take off something vicious. Before I end this live stream, I might even segue into that next. It's talking about this college admission stuff. That shit right there is gonna have lasting implications. It's beyond people just buying their way in because now they're gonna start looking at, well, what about people who cheated their way in? People who it's gonna give them the chance to start overturning stones that have no business being overturned. It's going to let a whole lot of people's lives get thrown into disarray. And mark my words, they're going to start to cash in on all the money owed. On all of it. On all of it. Let's just keep it pushing. Now the immediate partisan fight over Mr. Trump's border emergency diminishing. Those in favor of overhauling the 1976 law has invoked. Those in favor of overhauling the 1976 law he invoked remain determined to pursue bipartisan changes in legislation they view as an abject surrender of congressional power. Ultimately, there is a problem created by Congress, and it has been allowed to persist by Congress, said Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, who introduced a measure this past week to make it more difficult for presidents to circumvent Congress through an emergency declaration. Congress is starting to wake up to the fact that over time it has delegated out too much power. Now let's stop right there. This is one instance in a scenario in this dude's presidency where he's outsmarted not only his own party, but the opposite party. And the reason why that's so crucial and so important is because they thought, once again, this is, you can't be around a bunch of dumbass people and pull this one out your sleeve if everybody's a dumbass. No, there's somebody who's got some sort of brain power. And their brain power was smart enough to say, okay, hey, look, call for an emergency, right? We're going to, he capitulated, okay? So that way, ultimately, how they maneuvered it, they could keep the money because somebody told the president, look, man, Congress could allot this money and then renege. He's like, so how do we stop it? He's like, just let them know that you're going to declare an emergency. He set the foundation to be able to keep the little bit of money that they gave him for the wall, which is $1.7 billion, by the way, 1.75. So when you've gotten about 30% of what you need to get something done, you don't need that taken away from you. No, you need to be able to make that grow. Now, the president's $4 trillion or whatever it is, $4.25 trillion budget that he wants to pass, it has $8 billion supposedly of funding for the wall in it. Once again, even if that was cut in half, even if you cut it down to a third, he would still have the money he needs for the wall. And this is where people need to start paying attention, okay? This is where people need to start appreciating the small things. Because if you don't, it'll pass you up and it'll overlook you. And I know it doesn't seem like this is about the separation of powers. This is about the separation of power. He just said Congress is starting to wake up to the fact that over time it has delegated out too much power. What he's pretty much saying is that Congress should have never made that act in the first place. Okay. By Congress doing that, they've given the president a way out so long as he can. I mean, you'd have to really stretch what a national emergency is. You get what I'm saying? They've kind of stretched what's going on at the border, but really it's not about them stretching it. It's about people appreciating what they're seeing. You know, we're watching right in front of us the actual process of the separations of powers. I'm going to keep reading this so that way you understand what's about to happen. Okay. The Emergencies Act was meant to restore Congress's constitutional role as a check on an increasingly powerful executive branch, not just because of President Richard Nixon, but because of a growing imbalance between the two supposedly equal branches dating to at least the era of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Now stop right there. You all know that FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was a Democrat. Not only that, he pioneered the New Deal. So when they say that, they're talking about all the things that Roosevelt did, okay, like creating welfare for white people, were things that they may feel or may think because there are a bunch of minorities and there's a bunch of immigrants, so-called minorities, they claim, who are on this system and have become codependent upon the federal government. They feel the need now. Only do they feel the need almost 100 years later. You know what I mean? To be like, you know what? I think what FDR was doing back then may have been unconstitutional. Because that's what they're saying. They're saying what Trump is doing is unconstitutional. See what I'm saying? The reason why I know that is because it says right there, the Emergencies Act was meant to restore Congress's constitutional role. Stop right there. This is all about the Constitution. And I was talking to a dude today, and he was like, is the Constitution policy? I said, well, if it's put in place and acted effectively as policy, then yes, it's policy. Just because you don't act every day on the policy of the Constitution, if the policies are created in the face of the Constitution, right on, or in light of the Constitution, then one has to say that the Constitution itself is the overriding policy to which all other policies are birthed. However, let's keep pushing. Top Democrats ridiculed Mr. Lee's measure as a transparent political move to provide cover for Republicans facing the difficult choice of siding with Congress or Mr. Trump, and they dismissed it out of hand. So what they're saying right now is that this dude tried to muddy the waters some more by saying, okay, well, look, let's just vote on something that'll limit what he can do. And so therefore I don't have to condemn the president. I don't have to say, oh, I disapprove of what he's doing, because we just put this act forth that mitigates his overall ability to do something like this. But Congress is like, no, we don't want to be able to mitigate anything. We want to be able to stop it because we have the power to stop it. And we should be able to use our power that's leveraged to us to stop it. See, a bill and an act, totally different. You understand? The Congress didn't need the president to pass that National Emergencies Act of 1976. They didn't need the president to do that. Now, if they send a bill through, totally different. But look, we're talking about an act right now. All they have to do is make another act. That's it. Right. The bill they sent to the president, he said, fuck that. Thank you very much. Give me one moment. Excuse me. Excuse me again. In the end, Mr. Lee and 11 other Republicans senators joined Democrats in voting to block Mr. Trump's emergency declaration, sending the resolution of disapproval to the White House, where the president enthusiastically vetoed it on Friday and slammed critics in both parties. Both House and the Senate are well short of the votes required to override the veto. That means that any money that Mr. Trump diverted for his wall could stand despite Congress' refusal to allocate the funding in the first place and then voting decisively to end his emergency. Stop right there. Do you see what I'm talking about? How Congress was going to rig nig? So the president signs a bill, right, to reopen the government, not an act, but a bill. Okay. Boom. Then they were going to rig nig on what they told him they were going to give him. Right. So the only feasible option, so that way the congressional side isn't too strong, the legislative branch didn't overwhelm the executive branch, he had to pull this stunt. And whoever told him to pull this stunt is intelligent. The legality of Mr. Trump's declaration will now be fought in the courts. Come on, where the third branch of the government will no doubt consider the congressional intent represented by 2 votes against the president who exploited the emergencies laws. Now stop right there. For that part to say that he exploited it, this should be an opinion article without a doubt. But it's not an opinion article. It's bona fide. And I forget who wrote it. Let's see real quick. It's written by one Sarah Silbigger. Well, that's the picture. Carl Holtz. There we go. Carl Holtz wrote this. But this should be an opinion article, just based on that little line right there. Okay. To say that he exploited the emergency, he didn't exploit anything. They act as if this dude used the national emergencies law right as soon as he got into the fucking White House, and he's been doing it for 3 years, and now they've had enough. That's how this shit's written. No, this dude circumvented Congress, who was going to circumvent the money that they were supposed. Right, they didn't want to give him nothing. They didn't want to give him one iota without one scintilla. But you can send Israel billions of dollars every year for their funding of their own shit, so they can terrorize the entire region that they're in. But you won't give the so-called leader of the free world some money, so that way he can secure an area in the country that experts, professionals, sages, and pundits alike all say there needs to be some sort of security that is more efficient than what we currently have right now. Here we go. Come on. The thoroughly unsatisfying outcome for many on Capitol Hill could provide new impetus, which is momentum or driving force. I got a bunch of different, got like two different ones that are up. The theory of impetus. Anyway, let's just keep it pushing. That would be, excuse me, let's just start that over. The thoroughly unsatisfying outcome for many on Capitol Hill could provide new impetus for Mr. Lee's plan, which would require Congress to approve any president's emergency declaration, or it will automatically terminate after 30 days. That would be a significant change from the current process of ending an emergency declaration only by passing a resolution of disapproval subject to veto, an approach that leaves most of the leverage in the hands of the executive branch. So what they're trying to do is put all the leverage in their hands. If the president has to go to Congress, once again, it's not up to Congress to decide what is a national emergency. It's their job to legislate. They're trying to overstep their boundaries, right, of the legislative branch. I'm trying to tell y'all, man, the checks and balances, the separation of powers. This is why it exists. Come on, this is an honest review, though. If you want to declare a national emergency, we need to put a shot clock on it, Mr. Lee said. First off, once again, so you should put a shot clock on this opioid epidemic, because that's what it is. Just like it was a crack epidemic, it's an opium epidemic, not opioid, opium, because it comes from opium. Can you dig it? Unless it's purely synthetic, it's opium. Opioid to try to take off the sting of opium. Right. These motherfuckers are opium addicts, all of them. Doped up like a motherfucker. And if you're gonna put a shot clock on people coming into your country illegally, then you should put a shot clock on people who are already here who've decided willingly to destroy their lives. I'm just saying. Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky and the majority leader, said this past week that he asked the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee to look into the issue, and that lawmakers said a hearing was likely. They're going to decide in the hearing if they can even do anything. They're going to decide, well, how you have to, once again, you have to discern how much of the language would be encroachment, right, or tantamount to the language of abridging the separation of powers. Right. You can't undo what's been done because you don't like the fact that a person, if they choose to, he can't make everything a national emergency. Right. You can't make everything a national emergency. But the flow of people who come to the country illegally, I love how they call them undocumented immigrants. They're illegal aliens, dog. That's what the fuck they are. They need to call them that. All right. They don't call people who are stealing bread because they're hungry, you know, desperate or whatever, unless they're, you know, white skinned. But if you're a black person, you know, hardened criminal with extensive past with crime, you know what I mean? They'll air out some shit that happened 30, 40 fucking years ago with the person, just trying to paint the picture that this is who they are. So I have a hard time as a person who understands the reason for the checks and balance to hear some shit like that. You can't decide as a group of people against one person that you think this one person and the cabal of characters they have around them are too powerful. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, what about all the spending on all this shit for all these wars that Congress has passed? Is anybody like, yo, these motherfuckers need to be checked? They need to come to the people. How would Congress feel if the people who voted them in was like, you know what? Everything you guys do, you got to run by us first, and then you can do it. Right? What's the point of you being a person who's supposed to legislate if the purpose of you legislating, right, is impeded by someone who's supposed to give you the forward confidence to do the job? This is them trying to do this would give them the ability to attack any range of any things that they don't like, as far as a presidential power, as far as an executive branch power. And it wouldn't just be the president, it would be any group within the executive branch. Right. This is why it's so important. This is why it's so crucial. You see what I'm saying? To really know how this is all going, because the Department of Justice, all right, the judicial branch, the third branch, is going to confer or be a liaison or a mediator for this for these two subject parties, because now it's come to the third separation. This is the whole point of the judicial body, is when the executive branch and the legislative branch have these sort of disagreements, the judicial branch looks at the Constitution based on all their worldly knowledge. They say, okay, this is unconstitutional or it's not constitutional, or this is constitutional or it's not constitutional. Their job is not to do anything else, to act as a force, anything to do anything other than arbitrate what is constitutional and what isn't constitutional would make them, or would put them in the binds of somebody who is overstepping their powers within their branch of the government, which would be the judicial branch. This article's almost done. Don't worry. I'm long-winded tonight. I'm ready. Though Democrats initially ridiculed Mr. Lee's proposal, a spokesman for Nancy Pelosi said that she was also open to considering changes as long as they were not being pursued in the interest of political cover. Democrats will also need to be convinced that the purpose is not just to tie the hands of future presidents from their party. See, that's the difficult thing in this. You sign off on something like this right now, and then somebody from your party goes up, and then you would have to do the same shit you're doing now, and then it would seem like what she just said, right? In the interest of political cover, right? So that's what it would do. It's all political cover. This whole thing is political cover. This whole thing is political cover. If 30 Republicans had voted against Trump, you have to realize there wasn't a big enough dissension within their own ranks to feel like, oh, we need to be worried about that. 12 people is not a lot. 12 people is not a lot. It's not nothing really. You have hundreds of members of the House of Representatives. You got like 100 senators, all the little employees under them, all the little committees and subcommittees, you know. So for them to say what they're saying, they're telling on themselves. This is all a political fiasco at this point, because you can't say that you want your country safe, but there's no. Who lives in a home that doesn't have walls? Tell me who, y'all, other than homeless people. Right. So I don't have to prescribe to them wanting to build a wall or whatever. I just understand the purpose of the wall. I get the overall idea of it. And for any person, no matter what their frame of logic is, to try to deny the purpose and the function of a wall, stupid. You know, and is someone who's being intellectually disingenuous. Just keep on going. The House committees are reviewing the president's unlawful use of the National Emergency Act. Unlawful use. Look, dog, it's a National Emergency Act. How can it be unlawfully used? If there is an emergency, if there is an issue defined as an emergency, let me just go over here real quick. That's bullshit. Let's just read. Here we go. Reported to the Senate from the Committee on Government Operations with amendment, National Emergencies Act, Title I, terminating existing declared emergencies, states that all powers and authorities conferred by law upon the president and any other officer or employee of the federal government or any other department, agency, independent establishment, or any other body of the federal government, and all powers and authorities conferred by any of the federal government or any department, agency, independent establishment, or any of the body of the federal government, all powers and authorities, excuse me, I'm going to repeat myself, conferred by the executive order pursuant to law as a result of the existence of a national emergency in effect of the date of enactment of this act are terminated 2 years from the date of such enactment. Defines such emergency as a general declaration of emergency made by the president. Stop right there. This is all a whole bunch of kerfuffle for saying that if the president passes this act, and first off, the act is it could only be for 2 years. The longest this emergency could be is 2 years, is what they just said to you, number one. Okay. And it's pretty much saying that whoever you are, doesn't matter what kind of governing body you are, what kind of establishment you are, you're subject to the powers, you're subject to the authority of that national emergency. We don't give a damn, and that's for at least 2 years. Now, this is an act, not a bill. They don't need the president for acts. They don't need him. Anyway, kill this all off. He's saying, the act we're talking about, it was never intended and still is not permissible to be used by the president to settle a policy dispute in which he miserably failed to convince the Congress and the American people. Stop right there. If Donald Trump had declared it an emergency at first, he could have gone this route, circumvented Congress just like that. No, instead he did it the right way, y'all. Don't let these people confuse you. He asked, no matter how they think he asked, it's not a matter of if I can convince you. It's not a policy thing, okay? A wall has nothing to do with the policy. Barack Obama was going to build the fucking wall himself. Before him, the Republican guy before him was going to build the wall. The shit was tossed up in the air for Clinton, okay? You don't think, man, I'm telling you, if you go back to like Jimmy Carter, these guys have been throwing that shit out for a long time. It's not a new thing. Okay, it's not a new thing. Mr. Hamill was reflecting a widespread bipartisan sentiment that Mr. Trump and his advisors, now he's not even President Trump. See, you see how disrespectful these guys are? I don't ever remember reading articles about President Obama and them calling him Mr. Obama. I just can't. I can't think of too many. They always called him President Obama. They call him Mr. Trump. No respect. Mr. Trump and his advisors were employing the law in a way in which it was never intended to be used. If there's an emergency, once again, who determines if there's an emergency other than what that act said? The president. It's not up to Congress to do that. And Congress are the people who wrote the fucking act. Some of the 12 Republicans who voted to end the National Emergency Act did so not because they believe the president acted illegally, but because they considered it a grievous trespass on congressional prerogative on spending under a badly flawed law. Now, once again, when the president first said he was going to declare an emergency, these guys could have went back and did something then about they could have did something then about it. But no, you try to pass a bill, dog. You try to put a bill through man, you motherfuckers is crazy. All they had to do was write off another act. That's it. That's it. That's it. Man, these dudes is weak. Anyway, let me just keep it pushing. The National Emergencies Act of 1976 initially allowed the president to declare an emergency in order to act unilaterally if certain conditions were met. Stop right there. That is all dependent on how one perceives the situation. That's all there is to it. You can't discern what my discernment is. Right. Because the whole process has to play out, the entire thing. Now they're calling this. They said that the action could be blocked if the House and Senate passed a resolution to terminate it, a process known as the legislative veto. But in 1983, the Supreme Court, in the case of Immigration and Naturalization Service versus CATA or CHATA, found such an approach unconstitutional. Stop right there. It took the third branch of the government, the separation of power, the check and balance to that separation, to say, hey, look, you guys passed this act, okay? You can't put the act forth, all right, whatever the act is, and then you can't play gatekeeper to some shit that you invented. You feel me? You put it out there, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to let everybody else tell you how it tastes. It said that for the congressional action to be binding, it had to be in the form of legislation presented to the president. Stop right there. So you can't pass an act, you have to send forth a bill to the president. That ruling led Congress to devise the current approach of a resolution of disapproval, restoring the presidential veto in the case of emergency declarations and giving the upper hand giving the president the upper hand, since overriding a veto requires a hard to achieve 2/3 vote in both the House and Senate. Now stop right there. Stop right there. When you say that, you're trying to undo and achieve. Obviously, the guy who wrote this is some type of liberal or Democrat motherfucker, but I couldn't care less about that. What I care more about is the fact that, once again, you're seeing the separation of the powers play out. Now, it takes the courts all the time. And all that depends on what political party they are and how they see the world as to how they're going to view the Constitution. So everything is all about perception. When a person is trying to tell you, you have to ask a group of people who can't agree on what if they need 3-ply or 4-ply toilet paper. Okay, if they can't agree on something like that, you don't need that kind of force, right, to determine if there's an emergency or not. One group says there is, another group says there isn't, and the people still suffer. So fuck that. What the president did is not illegal. I don't support Mr. Trump. I told you I fuck with him, but I don't support him. There's a lot of people I fuck with that I don't support. There's a lot of people I support that I don't get to fuck with. Right. Right. Anyway, let me keep it pushing. It was a hasty decision without much deliberation, Mr. Lee said. It was written by a bygone era that really doesn't exist anymore. And I'll stop right there. That's because back then, way back then, they're forgetting what happened. This is all about Watergate, okay? They forget that Nixon was impeached, apparently. So when they're saying what they're saying, the act was used to curtail the president's ability to just do what he wanted. In order for him to do that, he had to say there was some sort of emergency. He couldn't just act on the fact that, oh, I think there's an emergency, or I'm just going to do what I choose to do within this binds. No, they made it to where certain actions are, as defined, right, can only take place, certain things can only take place in a state of an emergency. Right. So spying on somebody, if you really thought you should suspend habeas corpus, no trials, no juries, no nothing, all that type of shit, that's legal. And the president doesn't need Congress. The president does not need Congress to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. Thank you very much. Here we go. Mr. Lee says he believed the idea of establishing a time limit subject to congressional approval would be constitutional. He acknowledges that there is no chance it can move forward without bipartisan buy-in. Buy-in, he believes, is attainable as Congress realizes to the extent which it has relinquished its authority. Sometimes, he says, it takes a galvanizing event like the Wall Declaration to get lawmakers to band together. This has been created over time under Congresses and White Houses of every conceivable partisan configuration, Mr. Lee said. It needs to be a bipartisan solution. Now, that's the end of the article. I'll stop presenting that. And I'm just going to talk for a second. And I'm going to elaborate what this article is really talking about. So, one of the things that this is really, really, really hitting on, and it's really touching on a whole bunch, is the major fact that the separation of powers, and you know, and once again, this is an honest review because now I get to talk about a few different things. But it took all that. It took all that time took all that just to get here. Understand that the separation of powers is a crucial piece to anything. It's much like the relationship between a husband and a wife, mother and father to a child. If one parent says it's okay for you to do something and then the other parent disapproves of it, these two people, see, once again, now this is true bipartisanship. A marriage, it gets no more bipartisan, okay? Because even if one person is in charge, the other party still has to cooperate. If they don't cooperate, guess what? Nothing that you're trying to do is going to be achieved. Right. I'm not going to drag anybody kicking and screaming for something that's supposed to be good for them. Right now, you have a group of people who are essentially trying to slow down the effort of what I believe is prophecy. So far this year, once again, I'm telling you, these people know. They know that wall could spell the end. That wall could spell the end. That wall could be it, over, done, finite. And that's what they can't handle. They can't handle that. That idea is too much. This is where we're at. Let's talk about the college admissions real quick. Just a real fast caveat. The college admissions, that whole scandal, people are going to be investigated when they start to figure out that some of these people didn't pay all the money that they were supposed to pay. It's going to open up this door to the student loan things again. Notice, just like when I had pointed out, I don't know, 8 months ago, almost a year ago, it was something about DeVos, Betsy DeVos canceled out, so much debt for so many types of schools or whatever. But then she let people know that they're going after them, that they're going to go after the money. Now, not the Department of Education, but the Department of Treasury, because they've relinquished all the debt to them. Now, the Department of Treasury has their own agents. They have their own people who can execute warrants, searches, all of that. I know it doesn't seem feasible to people right now, but nobody thought Trump was going to get a fucking dollar for that wall. But right now, my dude is up $1.75 billion. D. Treasy said, watch me strong arm these motherfuckers. I'm going to show you how to do it. This is going to keep happening. We're living in a time where, once again, I know for a fact that this guy named Trump is not in charge. I know for a fact he's not. I know for a fact he's not. When you've fired and have rehired most of your cabinet, people have resigned at crucial moments and times needed. The only person I can really think is who's been solid with them, hasn't parted ways with them on anything, is the vice president. So one could argue that the vice president is really in charge. Much like when Dick Cheney and Bush were fucking partners in crime for the 8 years they were. So we need to realize that we're dealing with not D. Treasy, more or less, but Mike Pence. Uh, that's why Mike Pence stood right there like that, looking the way he did, looking all gaunt in the face. Because he's like, man, I hope my idea goes forward. It's his idea, probably. You wouldn't know because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to take credit for it. If it goes through, my shit went through. Doesn't matter who put it forth. It's my idea, right? I never need the credit so long as the intended purpose and the goal that was meant to be achieved is achieved. It's a powerful thing when you have nothing to lose. What does Mike Pence have to lose? Mike Pence most definitely couldn't have. Mike Pence could not have left 2 years into the service of the president, started his own campaigning back then, and then be ready to start. He wouldn't beat Trump, right? So the closest he may ever be to power is where he's at right now. He has to help Trump maintain power so that way he can maintain power. So that way, whatever his group's objectives are, they can be achieved. Now, with that said, this wall has a lot to do with whatever the objectives are for Pence's people. Mm-hmm. The evangelicals. I need y'all to realize this. Those Baptist preachers all over the South talking about how dangerous it is, because it's getting fucking dangerous at the border. It's always the border's always been dangerous. Let's not get it confused. But when you have places like Mexico, 3 years in a row, record numbers in murders, like 22,000 people got killed in Mexico last year. That's fucking crazy. That's great, and they're on pace to beat that already this year. Yeah. So when you have 22,000 people get laid out in a country, and a whole lot of the violence happens closer to America than further away, you're like, well, shit. How much of this is make believe? How much of it is real? And that's the truth, because the make believe part of it is that every single person coming to the country is a hardened criminal. That's bullshit. We already know that's not true. But what is real is that everybody who's coming to the country is not a good person. When I say a good person, somebody when you drop your wallet, they give you your wallet back. They don't wait to see if you're gonna turn around and start looking for it or whatever. You see what I'm saying? You know, a person who, if they see that you're vulnerable, they don't try to take advantage of you, pretty much. Uh, that's to me, that's the best kind of person somebody can really be. If you don't look to take advantage of people, there's it's hard for you to do really negative things. You see what I'm saying? Because most of the time when people do something negative, they're looking to take advantage of something or someone. However, when we talk about this wall and Mr. Trump, D. Treasy, that guy, and you talk about the overall concerted effort from Congress to pull the stunt. To me, this is a stunt they're trying to pull, or that they're pulling, because I find it hard to believe that this group of individuals did not know that the president could do what he was doing. Like, nobody from the congressional side sat down and said, "Hey, this guy could use this National Emergency Act of 1976 if he doesn't get his way." Like, bah humbug. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that as what took place. I see what took place as they didn't consider it. Because they didn't consider it, when it happened, they were totally caught them with their pants down. Totally caught them with their pants down. And now they're challenging the constitutionality of it. Now, here's the thing. What if the president has been knowing about this since day one? Right. That's the whole point. He could have circumvented Congress 3 years ago. Who was going to be able to stop him? Nobody. Nobody. That's the whole point. So essentially, they want the president to have to ask for permission before he does anything. It's not just about this national emergency shit. This is about anything. You have to understand the political ramifications. Standing up for yourself is not an easy thing to do. And no matter if I agree with somebody or not, when they stand up for themselves, I can appreciate the fact that they know that they have to do that. That they understand if I don't do this, no one else is going to do it for me. It just won't happen. Honest review. I like that. Now let's talk about uh, China for a little half second. Reading this article the other day, right? And when you once again when I read about China or Russia or any kind of country that has an economy that is obviously better than a third world place, you always get mixed messages. You see what I'm saying? You always get mixed messages. But something's going on in the world that everybody should be paying attention to. Record levels of construction in all these countries. When I say record levels, look into this shit. You don't believe me? Record levels of construction. Now, the reason why I say this is because for years and years and years and years and years and years and years of my life, I have heard people say when societies are ready to fall, that's what they normally do. They start to build massive infrastructures, big grandiose things. Now, why that's so important is because in my city, what would have been a week's worth of work for everything that they've done has taken these dudes, it's weeks, going on months for some of it. And all they're doing is laying down asphalt. And years ago, when I was a little kid, you know what I mean? Like I remember this dude telling me, he's like, asphalt is only good for so long, and then once it erodes, is way worse than eroded concrete, way worse. So, and people try to tell me, oh, the stuff they have today is this. No, is this and that. No, no, don't try to tell me that bullshit, okay? Because I've seen it too many different times, just in the last few years, of places that got asphalt and then 6 months to a year, the roads are back to fucked up. But it took you months. You know what I mean? It took you forever to get it right. But however, uh, we're at a crucial junction, and people have got to respect where we're at in the junction. Is ultimately what I'm saying. We're at a place where, like I said, they're building everywhere. They're tearing shit up everywhere, and it's like they want all these obstructions to be in the way to stop. It's like you won't be able to go everywhere. People are stupid. You need to realize how stupid people are. It could be an emergency, and because people have been programmed, things that will actually help them survive, they won't do. Like, for example, earthquake hits. They're inside of Fred Meyer or someplace like that. As opposed to them getting all the things that it might take to survive for however long, they might panic, leave the store, drive off, or go hide somewhere. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going anywhere. Unless the fucking ceiling in this bitch is just caving in, I'm not going nowhere. Because you don't know how long it's going to be until you have resources again, or until you can get to resources again. And I'm not asking for anything. I'm taking. I'm not paying for shit. That's mine. Thank you. Thank you. See, people don't think like that. This is why when shit happens, this is why they trample and run each other over. Because our societies of the world don't train us for crisis management. It doesn't. It doesn't even train people for financial management. So why would they think it trains them for management of crisis? It's crazy. It's nonsense. However, because there's no crisis management taught to the people, panic is normally the first thing to set in. Panic and pandemonium. Come on, y'all know what I'm talking about. And that's just how it is. Did I say it was right? No, that's not what I said. Do I think it's cool? No, I'm not saying that either. What I what I am saying, what I'm getting across, excuse me, or attempting to get across is leveling to everyone that something's about to happen. I don't know where or where, but I got that feeling. On my other little channel, I dropped a little video called A. Jeremiah Schmuckatelli. And Schmuckatelli was this Officer Marinelli guy. I want to say Steve Marinelli or something like that. And he was making weapons for obviously a white motorcycle gang, probably some racist motherfuckers. And they said he made dozens of guns. So I'm assuming he made hundreds of guns for these people. Now, this dude's only looking at a few years in prison. Okay? Why he's not called a terrorist, why he's not considered, scumbag, hell on wheels type motherfucker, don't know. What I do know is this, is that more and more and more the police, the people who are supposed to be enacted with trust to protect the general public, they're folding. Their mental health is deteriorating. Whatever they call mental health. People have demons in their body. And their demons are starting to get the best of them. In a way in which they are no longer in charge and no longer in control of themselves. We have to realize this year is the year to hold to the fire. Can't stress it enough. We're a quarter into the year. So many different crazy things have taken place. Exciting things, some things not so exciting. Uh, but we're here. And you've got to appreciate that you're here. You've got to love the fact that you're here. Because if you don't, no one else will, number one. And number two, you might not see some of the things that are coming to you. That separation of powers, huge, huge. That little MSN article, big deal. Trust me, that's a super huge deal. This week was crazy. I remember seeing what was it on MSN? Give me a second. See if I can't try to go find this article. There was so much stuff I seen this week, y'all, that just blew my mind. Uh, I mean, when I say blew my mind, blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe. Uh, Here we go. Here we go. We'll go ahead and show this to y'all. Fuck it, because this is what's gonna make y'all really see what I'm talking about. This is not the article that I wanted, but I'm just seeing this, and this is gonna stress that student loan stuff and what's really about to happen with people. Share. And while I get ready to read this short article, I just wanted to stress to you, you know, hold on one second. Okay. Okay. Fallout from college admission scandals worsening for accused parents and schools. Now stop right there. If y'all think that motherfuckers aren't going to start telling on each other, I call this the process of cannibalization. Okay? Everybody who's involved, who thinks they can get away with this shit, gonna become a stool pigeon, just like that. Anybody who's got a bone to pick with somebody over over some old ass beefs, motherfuckers get ready to get thrown under the bus. Facts. Now let's go ahead and read this. The college admissions cheating scandal that was revealed this week is shaping up to have long-term ramifications for both parents and accused in the scheme and the large world of getting into college. Some parents who are accused of cheating to get their children into elite schools are facing civil suits in addition to federal criminal charges. Stop right there. If you think that they're not going to go and hit poor people with a book, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. See, buying to get their children in is just the first part. There's going to be people who get found to have cheated on the SATs, the ACTs, all types of placement. Man, you guys are about to be like, holy shit. Now, it might not come out for another 6 months or a year, or this shit could steadily fall out this year. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, come on. Meanwhile, there was talk in Congress of new laws aimed at cracking down, and the Department of Education is also reviewing the case. Now, I told y'all earlier, you ain't heard shit from Betsy DeVos. Did it say anything about her just then? Nope. Some of the defendants are already feeling the effects of the scandal. Actress Lori Loughlin and her daughter have lost work. 2 members of the board of the top Newport Beach prep school stepped down, as has a top investment banker. Several of the colleges involved have launched their own probes. The sweeping criminal investigation, which came to light earlier this week, alleges that wealthy parents from different parts of the country sought out Newport Beach businessman William Rick Singer with one overriding goal: to get their children into the best colleges. Singer, who owns an admission assistance company, told parents he had built a side door into USC and other highly sought after universities and could help their children walk through. Lawsuits. The dozens charged in the scheme already face criminal charges, but several civil lawsuits have also been filed. An Oakland woman filed a $500 billion class action lawsuit this week against 2 Hollywood actresses and a dozen of other wealthy parents accused of paying hefty sums to bribe college coaches or doctor exam scores to secure their children admission to elite universities. Stop right there. I told you. Or a doctor exam scores. Did you hear me? Motherfuckers cheating on tests. This shit's about to blow the fuck up, and they're gonna come after all that money owed. Anyway, Jennifer K. Toy, who previously taught at Oakland Unified School District, alleges in the lawsuit filed in San Francisco County Superior Court that the actions of those implicated in the scheme prevented her son Joshua Toy from being admitted to several colleges ensnared in the scandal. She wrote in the filing that her son worked hard and graduated from his high school with a 4.2 GPA, but was rejected from some of the colleges. Actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, and Loughlin's husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, along with dozens of other people charged in the criminal case, are named in the lawsuit. The court does not specify the colleges which her son applied or when he submitted his applications. 2 Stanford University students on Wednesday filed a federal class action lawsuit against Stanford, USC, UCLA, the University of San Diego, the University of Texas at Austin, Wake Forest University, Yale University, and Georgetown University. Listen, all these lawsuits, all this legal action, okay? That shit's gonna have consequences. Oh, you think they're gonna let a bunch of ex-students and shit nut up without there being some type of fucking blowback? Right. You got the parents pissed off. You got ex-students pissed off. Right? Now here's going to be the issue. All the money owed to the feds. I'm trying to tell you. Legislation. One of the aspects of the case that has inspired particular outrage is that the parents who took part in the alleged bribes got tax write-offs for the money they spent. Come the fuck on, dog. This shit is just crazy. Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat, Oregon, said this week he would introduce legislation to eliminate that tax advantage. He said donations to schools should be taxable if the donor has children attending or trying to attend the college. No fucking shit. The federal government shouldn't be perpetuating this system by awarding tax breaks to these contributions that return to the donor a benefit of inestimable value, he said in a statement. The National Association of College and University Businesses officers expressed concern about the idea. While the organization understands the public outrage, we cannot support knee-jerk reactions that inappropriately presume a lack of integrity in admissions, and compliance at our nation's institution of higher education and threaten to curb charitable giving. Stop right there. They don't want the fucking handouts to end. Here we go. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos said this week her department is looking closely into any federal education regulations were violated. Every student deserves to be considered on their individual merits when applying to college, and it's disgraceful to see anyone breaking the law to give their children an advantage over others, she said in a statement. That's it. That's all you got from her. Because guess what? They're getting ready to fucking, man, anything that's a violation of the federal law that they can say, okay, you actually violated this law. We can hand your case over to this group now. Man, anyway, this is about to blow up. It hasn't blown up yet. It just started. This is a tiny little fucking fire. This is like that little fire that you see before the big one just like poof out of nowhere. It's that little fire, but it's a noticeable little fire, but it's not a big one. This shit's about to explode. Investigations. Several of the colleges involved have launched internal investigations. USC said it has initiated a case-by-case review of current students and graduates who may be connected to the alleged scheme. We will make informed decisions about those cases as the reviews are completed. Let's stop right there. What happens when they realize that they say, well, you know what? It's bigger than just rich parents. Poor people have been cheating to get into these schools. People have been lying about whether or not they're minority. Do you owe back money for grants if they can come and say, well, you know what? You actually don't qualify for it? Man, this shit is crazy. This shit is crazy. Yale said it was bringing in outside advisors to investigate. That's the best thing to do. So that way, the integrity of the investigation is not tainted. At least not as easily from an outside person. Because those outside advisors could easily be private investigators. Private investigators call themselves private consultants and private advisors a lot. Why? Because as much as their job involves snooping around or whatever, it involves getting the information from people and then giving somebody the best course of action to take. However, Yale's smart for getting an outside source to come do their shit. It said, as part of the review, we will specifically examine the practices of commercial admission consultants whose work is conducted out of the view of admission officers. They're going to see exactly what people talk about with the parents. Harvard Westlake School in LA said it was conducting an internal review to fully understand the scope of any relationship that Singer may have had with our families. Sources said that one of the 7 prep schools that were served federal subpoenas. Sources say one of the several prep schools that were served federal subpoenas related to the case. I think that was supposed to be more of the article, but they said cut it short, Schmuckatelli. Can't have you giving these motherfuckers all the game away. I'm going now. Now my whole thing is this. What up, sister? Just like me too. This shit's about to, when I say it's about to take off, it's about to take off. And I love it because I've been saying for a hot dog minute, you know. I've been saying for a hot dog minute. A lot of other people have too. But I've been saying this shit for a hot second that it's going down, you know. It's going all the way down and not just a little bit. But it's a blessing though. It's a blessing to be able to have both of my eyes open, you know. What up, bro? Just I know it's hella late, right? I know it's hella late. But long story short, short story shorter, I was talking to Andre earlier, and I should have did my live stream as soon as I got done talking to bro. But I was supposed to lay down for just an hour, and 1 hour turned into 6. And when I got up, felt real spry, real lively. I said, I'm about to go talk about something. Now, people don't think that this is a review, but it is. This is a review as to where we're at so far in the year and what to look for and what to look at. I can't stress it to y'all enough. If you let this situation with the wall escape you, D Treasy gonna get away with some bullshit. Because Cuddy won't just build that wall. He'll build more than that wall. See what I'm saying? And that's where my real concern is at for the whole concept with the wall is like, what if they do more than they're supposed to do? You know, trying to circumvent prophecy. I can't stress it enough. They're not letting your black ass just leave this country. Why do you think they have the ID Act of 2020, where you have to have a passport just to get on a fucking plane, dog? Right. How many black people can't get a passport for one reason or another? Right. That's the crux of our situation. Is that come the time when people probably can leave, or there's a real situation that probably warrants escape, everybody not going to be able to leave. This is my question. Would you really leave this country if, let's say, one of your most loved family members was a felon and you knew that they couldn't get a passport? No, I'm serious, bro. This is real. But bro, you look, if that dude told you that they don't have any money for it, almost $2 billion is a lot of fucking money. All right. I've already shown y'all just a little bullshit pictures they'll show us, you know, of them building the wall. Man, look, they're building that bitch. And your flying days might not be over. But if they are over, that was the intended purpose, to stunt your travel. Because now if you're going to go, you're going to have to drive on the interstate. Right. But with all these troopers and shit doing all this foul, skullduggerous nonsense lately, who's going to want to drive in a state where, shit, if I get pulled over, this motherfucker around and take all my money? Say that they suspected I was up to some no good activity. Not that they could prove it or the last time I was at court, let me tell y'all something. And I'm not sure if I brought this up, but I was talking to the lawyer and I said, you know, establishing probable cause takes really nothing. Probable cause is just me thinking you did it. If I believe you did it, that's probable cause. Now, does everybody prescribe to that? No. But that's how probable cause works. Because you could be in court, the judge could be looking at the information. The information could be hella skewed, hella vague. If the prosecuting attorney or the judge who are arbitrating for the state feel or believe that there was a crime committed, that's all it takes to charge you with the crime. That's all it takes is just believing you did it. It takes nothing else. So when they say that they've established probable cause for some shit, just know that based on the information presented, they believe that you may have done something. That's it. It doesn't take any, you don't have to do anything wrong for them to establish probable cause against you. Is it bullshit? Oh, fucking right. But is that the way it is? Oh, fucking right. One of the biggest things I've dealt with in my life is knowing when to stand up for myself and knowing when to just, you know, I'm not gonna say just like let it happen, but essentially that's what you do, you know. You kind of just say, all right, I'm gonna count my blessings and I'm just gonna just say fuck it. Now, we don't always get to just say fuck it. We would like to, but one of the biggest issues I'm having right now, as a young brother especially, is getting people to see that unless they actually stay involved in the environment, people got to realize I'm working 12 and a half hour days. I spend like an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 20 minutes traveling to work, an hour and 30 minutes coming home. So you got to look and say, okay, 15 hours of this dude's day, okay, 2/3 of his day is enamored in work or, you know, something that has to do with work. So my ability to stay informed is totally contingent of picking up the information. And by picking it up, I mean like looking at my phone, whatever. But constantly challenging myself to stay involved. That's why that guy can say what he said to you, Steve, because he's not involved, not nearly enough. Right on? He's not nearly involved enough because you should you should have the prerogative to do certain things for yourself. You feel me? You know. Oh, Tammy, tell Steven congratulations. He's gonna be a dad. Yeah. You know. Tell the whole world so that way everybody has to say congrats, Steven. Congratulations. Anyway, gotta stay informed. We gotta stay informed. You got to stay informed. It is imperative that you know a little bit about what's going on. Yep, everything changes. I'm super stoked for bro. See, and that's just part of us being informed. It's keeping up with each other enough to say, hey, this is what's going on in my life. I know you pretty much have it taken care of down there. You're like a one-woman army to yourself. But if you ever need anything, sister, please – please, 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 say so. have excellent penmanship. Excellent. Even though my handwriting is not all the time good, my penmanship, true wordsmith. Man, of course we all want, man, but things don't always go like that. Oh no problem. You're funny. I'm no army. You're funny. But sister, that's. I mean, really, it goes without saying. You know, I was talking to my mom this week. I just wanted to share this with y'all, and I'm gonna tell you how ass backwards the world is. I understood everything my mom was saying, and I agreed with her to the fact that I know what she means, but I had to disagree with her on the discourse of her knowledge of the situation. I give you a prime example. I was telling her, like, when you get, so old, you need to just come live with me. She's like, I'm not living with you. I'm not living with you. I'm gonna be by myself in a condo with somebody taking care of me. She said, there ain't nothing like having your own. And I said, yeah, that's true. I was like, but I don't think you know what you mean when you say that. I don't think you know what you're talking about all the way when you say that. And I wasn't to be disrespectful. And I explained myself to her. I said, look, check me out, Mom. Women and men are supposed to get married, supposed to live together. A part of you having your own is you having a man to have your own with. He's supposed to have something, so that way you guys have something. And you're supposed to help him keep whatever it is that he gets. You're supposed to help him get whatever he's trying to get. Right. So when you say, some shit like, having your own, there's nothing like having your own. I'm going to tell her, yeah, there's nothing like having a man, but I kept that to myself because she knows her own life decisions have made it to where you're in your 50s and you still have to date people, like that's childish. That's, to me, that's childish. Now people could be like, the world is different. The world is no different today than it was 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. Only now they have these moving bullets called vehicles that if you get touched by them and they're going too fast, it's over. However, stay strong, sister. Stay strong. Neither do I. And I'm young. And I'm a young fella. So, there's just too much. There's just too much. There's just too many games. Too many games. And I can't stand it. Can't stand it. But no, just to get back on track, being informed is a weapon. You feel me? It's a shield also. It works as a weapon because you can use information to essentially slay somebody. Really, there have probably been more wars, excuse me, fought over words than actually slights in action. When I say slights in action, I mean somebody slighting you through an action as opposed to what they say to you. There have been more people to have started a war over some shit that came out of somebody's mouth than what somebody actually did. I know people want to be like, women have started wars. She might have been the reason why these two dudes had some dialogue that led to the war, but that dialogue could have happened regardless, and this war still could have happened regardless. When they show you the movie Troy, and you come to understand that Helen of Troy is the reason why this whole fight is happening, the little dude perished. Once again, They don't go into the fact that he's an adulterer and this, that, or the other. You know, they just want you to think that this is essentially over the chick. But really what it's about is a lack of respect from one man to another. You see what I'm saying? And it's about words that were had first, because we established between each other that I respect you and you respect me. Then you slight me through your action by taking my woman. Okay, motherfucker. Okay. Your words are what led to this, to the slighting of the action. Because if you said that you didn't respect me off tops, the words initially would have led to a potential conflict. But because you deceived me with your words, you were able to slight me through action. I need y'all to understand this. You would never let a person come into your house if they said, look, I'm here to steal everything. Motherfucker knocked on your door, dressed clean. Dressed to the T. If that person said, hello, my name is Joe Blow Schmuckatelli, and I'm here to take everything. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's crazy, y'all. You can't get to most situations of disrespect without dialogue. How often do you see people just walk up on the streets and just actually assault somebody? Like, it doesn't happen. It happens, but it doesn't happen that often. Normally, there's words. So I'm gonna tie that into our initial thing that I talked about at first, which was D. Treasy pulling a classic one over Congress. They thought they had defeated him on the wall. They thought they defeated him on the wall. They thought they defeated him. And all they did was defeat themselves. So now they have to go back to the drawing board with their tails tucked between their legs to figure it out. But there wouldn't be no beef if they had just capitulated to what their leader, their president said. Right. They wouldn't have to. Well, if they had just gave in, they wouldn't have to look stupid, I mean. And by gave in, I mean, okay, don't give this guy $5 billion. Give him half the money he wants. Give him half. And when I say half, I mean half. Whatever half of 5.7 was or is like 2.885. Anyway, the whole point is that could have gave him that, not lost no sleep over it, and you wouldn't be in a fucked up position that you're in now. But we're dealing with a group of people, dog, who they don't understand. They don't understand what they've done. You see what I'm saying? They can't. They can't understand what they've done. That dude said the craziest shit. He said that act was written in a bygone generation. What he meant by that was let bygones be bygones. But that's so untrue. But what he really meant was everybody was in on the scheme back then. So when Congress passed that shit all those years ago, everybody was kind of like together because they were all in one accord and getting Nixon out of there. I don't think motherfuckers understand. If Nixon had never been caught, Nixon was going to expose more secrets about America than any other president. You do know the only reason why these dudes know about the petrodollar is because of Nixon is the only reason they know about the petrodollar. Do they even say that? Do they even actually admit that outside of the Watergate scandal? Tell me what he did that was so bad. And really, tell me what's so bad about putting recording devices in the rooms of people that you don't trust, that you think are against you. Right. Right. Oh, you think that every room in the White House doesn't have recording devices or some shit like that? There might be a few places in the White House that are actually literally dead zones, black spots, where you can actually do whatever you want and won't nothing happen. Guarantee it. Almost everywhere in that motherfucker is recorded. And was probably recorded before Nixon and has been so since afterwards. Without Nixon, though, they wouldn't. If Nixon hadn't done what he done, I wonder if Trump would even need Congress to get the money for the wall. See, it obviously must be illegal for the president to fundraise for the wall. It must be. What do you think about this? If only 50 million white people, 50 million, right, gave Donald Trump $1 a month, that's $50 million every month. At the end of every year, $600 million. So 2 years, you got 1.2 billion. 3 years, you got 1.8. Right? 4 years, you got 2.4. Listen to what I'm saying. The time it would take to construct the wall, Donald Trump could probably get the money donated to him monthly to have the shit built. Realistically, from Americans who would pledge $1 a month. It's nothing. There's plenty of people who would pledge way more than that out of that 50 million. So imagine he just had 10 million good job having white Americans who are ready to fucking put a wall up. Cuz can have the wall built in a couple years with their money. Who are like, out of that 10 million, they're like shit. They're like, fuck, we're all good for 50 a month. Right. You see what I'm saying? Just like that. The dude could have his shit built in a year if he wanted. You don't think they would give the money to this dude? Get the fuck out of here. They would. There must be something illegal with the president must not be able to fundraise, and there must be some sort of like legislation or a policy or code that's in effect to where, you know, I have yet to see anybody trying to actually fundraise for the wall. That's why I say it. That's why I say it. Do you know how many people say that they're against the wall who would donate money to that motherfucker? You got Mexicans who live here. You got motherfuckers all from all regions of South America. Africans, Russians, all types of motherfuckers would donate to that shit. That's something that I don't. That's part of my own abstract thinking, sister. You see what I'm saying? You know, and the only reason why I thought about it is because I was like, what? I literally sat here one day and was like, what would be the easiest way to get the money for the wall? And what would I do if I was the president? And then I thought about it and I was like, there's no way a room full of people did nobody throw out let's fundraise for it. There's no way they didn't throw that out there. And then somebody probably thought, Article 2, Section 5, Paragraph 4 of Code 3455 says that no fundraising shall be allowed, nor funds allocated to any policy driven or whatever type of legislation or anything like that. You see what I'm saying? Because the wall is the president's. What Trump is trying to do is like what FDR did with building bridges and building buildings all over the place. Like, we need these bridges. We need these buildings. They're important to the infrastructure of America. The same shit that they built way back then is deteriorating at a record pace. Not even safe to travel on anymore. Nothing. Of course. Of course. They're not in this shit together. When motherfuckers try to say that Mexicans are all in it together, Mexicans backbite each other so fucking bad. It's crazy. It's horrible. It's horrible. You got to think. There's technically three, but there's two different major cast of people who are called Mexicans. There's Spaniard Mexicans, and then you have the Aztecan/Indian Mexicans. Depending on which bloodline you come from, depends on how you see things. The Spaniards are always going to see it from a white man's point of view, no matter what. Only the Aztecan dudes are like, don't build a wall. The Spaniards will say some shit like, fuck Donald Trump. But they're not going to say, don't build the wall. Right. I think the wall is to keep us from leaving. I think the wall is to keep people from trying to look, sister. This shit from these colleges is about to explode. All right. You will need a passport to get on a plane. If you have a vehicle registered in your name, they have the license plate for it. How hard is it to put out an APB on somebody? Man, this shit is so fucking crazy what they're doing right now. This shit is so crazy. Little known fact, I just want to throw this out there. Did you know Cory Booker was dating Rosario Dawson, the little half black, half Puerto Rican chick? So even if he is a faggot, he's not that gay. I want to throw that out there real quick. And then back to this wall. The wall is crazy. The wall, you got to think, if they're building the wall, you're not going to be able to just leave. Right. Think about how this shit works. They've already got Border Patrol at the main entries. You know what I'm saying? They already got Border Patrol at the main entries. They got Border Patrol going different little places. Did you know Donald Trump is thinking about sending armed volunteers to the border? They're not going to tell you that they're armed volunteers. They say volunteers. These motherfuckers are armed, dog. You know what they're going to help do? Help secure the border and the overall building of the wall. Now, I want you to understand this. If the broad walls of Babylon do come down and its high gates burn and the people toil in vain, well, there has to be somebody there to toil in vain, sister. There must be. Black people. I realize Black people And I'm using the umbrella term, Gentile, Japhetite, Semite, Hamite, and all the mixtures. All black people. The reason why most of them don't fuck with me is because I don't co-sign to the we're all the same. This is why you're going to have Chaldeans inherit tabernacles not their own. See, the Most High is like, these people are not the people. They never knew. Well, man, come on. This shit is about to get deep. This shit is about to get deep. Why do you think the scripture always lets you know that your sister is Chaldean? Right, because it does. Because who do your people come from? The Chaldeans. Black people are going to have shit in this country before it's all said and done. Those tabernacles that they're going to inherit are places in Congress, House of Representatives, mayor, governor. They're already doing it. I'm talking about niggas are already doing it at a record pace. See, when they really take over, because they're going to take over in this bitch, you got to realize there's going to be niggas who don't want to leave. Come the day we can leave, there's going to be niggas who don't leave. Facts. There's going to be niggas who don't leave this bitch. There's already dudes. Look, I met a cat earlier today. I had a bomb-ass day, y'all. I think the real reason why I went to sleep because I was faded. Had 2 shots of Jameson, and I had 2 draft beers. You know, it was St. Patty's Day, so, you know, like, they fucking dyed it green or whatever. I didn't care that it was dyed green, but, you know, whatever, give me that. On a good one. I kicked it with this older brother named Elijah. He's from Florida, born in 1970. Seen a lot of stuff. Washes dishes right now, but he's actually really a really good interior painter. One of those skilled people of our peoples. However, I kicked it tough, had a good time. But we talked, and we talked about black people and the condition of black people. And there was this dude on the bus, this other guy from New York, born 1986. I don't know why I'm telling y'all all this. But he's mixed, obviously. You could tell by the grade of his hair. Mixed with something Puerto Rican or some shit. And he's trying to tell me what black people need to do. And it's like, he's like, you know, we had talked about reparations, me and his brother. And people don't know, you know, I've talked about reparations for a long time. Like, but I've always said they won't give us what the fuck they owe us. I said that shit. I said that shit years ago. I've always talked about things like this in passing. You know, I don't get boggled down about it, you know, because when the brother said, "Well, what are reparations?" you know, and then it came to the concept. Well, man, reparations are not just financial dividends. Reparations are the highest to the lowest of these people of all caste, of our own people, the traders within, of all of them saying the evil that they've done. And then justice being paid upon their heads. That is part of the reparation. Now, I didn't get to go into everything because the dude said, you know, the one little guy was talking about, if I didn't work for it, I don't want it. I understand what you're saying, but I was like, bro, if somebody came here right now and gave me some silver and gold bullion, what could they really do that's back? Like, how could you? Where's the backhandedness in somebody giving you silver and gold? I'm taking that. Give me that. All of it, motherfucker. So, excuse my language, but you get what I'm saying? I'm not playing with nobody. So, when you say some stuff like, you know, that'll never work, it'll never happen, you're pretty much saying that you don't believe that the Most High is going to get you right. Because I believe in the Most High God of Abraham, of Isaac, than Jacob, later named Israel. I believe in that God. I believe he is he is the most high. And he said that don't worry, come that day, even the lame will have much loot. Can you dig it? So I'm not worried about no fucking reparations. Now, I didn't go into that with these guys, but I'm breaking that to y'all. I don't care about reparations like that because I know I know when it's our day to get ours, we're gonna get our. You're gonna have too much to carry. These motherfuckers are gonna be too busy getting their asses beat to stop you from taking it. I'm taking what's mine. I'm taking what's mine. Ain't nobody giving me shit. Bro was like, I hear you demanding and not asking. He said, maybe you should ask, man. I almost told him, fuck asking. I was like, you have a good day, bro. Stay blessed. And kept it pushing. And then me and bro went, got some. I got a tuna fish sandwich, and then we went down. We talked some more about the stuff. You always got to tell the devil to get behind you, get underneath your feet. That's where he needs to be, underneath your feet, not behind you. Get underneath my feet, dirty ass dog. Because that's how I feel about dudes who. Oh shit! Everybody I know work for it. I don't know nobody who is black and can say that if you're black and your people are from America, you would have to be a black Arab or a black Moor to say, yeah, nigga, my people been armed forever since they've been in this country. And even they could have a burp in their history of their prosperity. It happens. When the brother asked me, who do I really think is in charge? I told him, I said, the person that's really in charge is somebody that looks just like me and you, that hates the fuck out of us. Hates us to death. Do you understand how much your brethren and your sister in the Middle East who look just like you hate you? The true children of Esau? They hate you. They wish it was them that invented the light bulb. They wish they did everything. They fucking hate us. They hate you. They hate. Oh, no. But they most definitely, when I say hate some black people, and they're black themselves, and they hate, oh my goodness, they hate us. I have to put emphasis on that. And they are in charge of some shit. Okay? They are running some shit. I told the dude earlier, and I don't mean to get too far off the reservation. I'll get back to the wall in half a second. But I said, look, man, I said, the Moors invaded. This is why even when niggas are supposed to be so-called history buffs, the little bit of shit that I throw out there is almost irrefutable. No matter if I could be a couple years off, the events go the way that I say that they go. Check this out. Does anybody want to argue this? The Moors invaded the Byzantine or Byzantine Empire. The Moors then put their mulatto children from their unholy unions on the thrones all throughout Europe. Those then mulatto children began to mate with the same lowly class of white people that the Moors gave children to. Right, and I always say lowly class, even if they were from the royal bloodlines of these so-called cave dwellers. Fucking knuckle dragon brute, dude. Get out of here. Anyway. And if you're not a knuckle dragger, soulless demon. Not to say that the knuckle draggers aren't soulless demons themselves. They're just not as complicated as the one who knows that they're a soulless demon and operates just like that, keeping it pushing. These people were put on the throne in Europe. Right. These people were put on the throne in Europe. What did they do? Until this day, their black ancestors have kept a tight. Dude, why do you think Queen Elizabeth has curly hair, dog? You don't think she's an octoroon? Why do you think they let Meghan Markle get back into the fucking? Why do you think they let her into the shit? Her father being a white man and all that. Her father comes from royal lineage. Probably one of the bastards from some lowly plebe woman that was sleeping around with the king or a prince or whoever at the time. That's how that shit goes. It's how it goes. It's human nature. However, look how important it is for the queen to say, okay, we've got to put some more of that back into the blood. That's them picking her is no different than her being picked at any other time. Or a dude, right on, being able to a little mixed dude or even a black person being able to, they're never gonna tell you when this shit happened. Why would they tell you, oh yeah, in 18 whatever, black guy sleeps with this chick, they hold her off to the back, they raise the child, those people die, child grows up, has a baby, bam, we hold them back off again, they die, we raise that child up, now the child looks like a white looking person, right, we're going to tote them out to the front, this is Joe Blow Schmuckatelli of royalty, right, Sir Schmuckatelli of royalty, and this is how the shit goes. Nobody really wants to hear that because they can't understand how complicated it is. They're like, that's bullshit. I'm like, so what do you think happened in this country? Okay, that's right. I told y'all what happened in the Civil War. They killed all the Clay Thompsons. They marked them all out, almost all of them. Got rid of them. The Drakes, the J. Coles, y'all got to go. Y'all got to go. Y'all getting too powerful. Because you have a dominant gene sequence pulsating through your body that allows you to still overpower me and overwhelm me. And because you look more akin to me than not in some of these cases, and too many of the cases, it's scary. You know? This is what happens. This is what happens. It's the coldest shit ever, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. Nobody understands how deep the shit goes. They've been doing this shit for, I'm not going to say thousands of years because they're not that complicated, but their handlers above them for thousands of years have been manipulating all of this. Thousands. Somebody who looks just like me and you, who hates us to death. Can't stress it enough. They're just as important as the so-called wall that's being built. I don't worry about what other people don't know. Right on? I worry about what I know. Because that's all that I'll ever know. I'll never know what another person knows per se directly. Because I'm not them. Be the truth that you know is true. Don't be the truth that you think is true. I can't wait till people stop saying facts and say true, because I'd rather hear truth over facts because facts are refutable. They change every day. And because the facts change, I need the information to be just like that. Right. Interchangeable. So that way I can work it the way that I need to work the information. The same way the rest of these people do. I'm not going to give myself the disadvantage because they want me to be disadvantaged. I know what I'm talking about. They want you to believe that look, I said years ago, fucking years ago, you can go look for it in my spiritual gumbos and all that. And I'm about to redo those one by one very slowly. I'm going to listen to them, re-record, delete the one off, and upload it again. And I'm about to redo my whole spiritual gumbo journey. That's about to be super duper fun. Anyway, people don't understand. And I got the little one coming out here real soon. I just been reading the book of Enoch and getting all carried away in that, so I can't You know, I can't put that down just yet. I kind of almost really just want to finish it all the way out. You know, and I've been rereading a whole bunch, so that's what's taking so long. But just a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys. You know, that I know. Give a fuck what somebody else says. All right, what I know is true, based on all the information that's presented and available, weighing it all against itself, and then seeing what comes out in the end. Now, if somebody has a better way of configuring it all, sure, that's fine. But if their view is so minimal, like I'm going to tell you how minimal some people are. They think I'm petty for thinking the way that I think, but I still acknowledge the existence of whoever it is that they claim to be. Case in point, there's people who are like, oh, I'm Egyptian. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But you act like everybody was Egyptian. Everybody wasn't fucking Egyptian, dog. So what about all the other groups and tribes of people? Right. Where did the Egyptians come from? Right. But if they read the Bible, they'll understand that. If they give the Bible the historical credence it should have, not that certain people don't use it as a crutch anyway to bolster their claims and their arguments, but the scripture should be looked at in such a different way that it explains exactly what it is that we're looking at right now today. See, if a person actually read the scripture and read in the Exodus, when Moses has taken the people, the Most High tells them, look, don't take them through the land of the Philistines, dog, because it's going down. And I don't want them to turn back and go back to Egypt because they got weak hearts. So what did the Most High have to do? He had to build them up to be a battle-hardy people. Right. Right. The 40 years in the wilderness, let me go ahead and drop something on y'all. The 40 years in the wilderness, I believe, was going to take place anyway. But here's what people don't see in that situation. Yes, these guys disobeyed the Most High. Yes, they did this. Yes, they did that. But they learned so many valuable lessons from that crucial defeat that it gave them 40 years to train their sons into perfected forms of warfare. Right. So much so that you have from what were just known as basic men of war to now you have true men of might. Now, this is something that a whole lot of people don't catch, don't pay attention to, can't even perceive, because they're just reading the book like it's a bunch of hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo. See, I have the ability, once again, to stand back and to be so objective to what I'm reading that if I don't believe something right then and there in the scripture, I'll challenge it. I have no problem challenging it. Nothing. Not one. Not one. I want you guys to understand this. The Most High God loves for people to challenge, to make sure he is who he says he is. There's something about his essence when people do it. And my favorite is Gideon. Because Gideon's like, all right, check this out. Put all the water on the ground around my little vest here, my little shirt. I'm going to go back to sleep. And if there's no water on the shirt, I know it's you, right? Bam, boom, gets up. He's like, okay, that was good. But that could have been some high-powered fallen one. Let me make sure his juice, and I might have took all of his juice. I might have took everything he had. So let me make sure he is who he says he is. Okay, look, check this out. I want all the water on the shirt, nowhere else. I'm going back to sleep. Blam. Gets up. Okay. Word is bond. Word is bond. It is he. It is the blessed ancient one. It is he who has done this. Okay. I'm riding. There's so many different instances like this within the scripture that you could give a person. The Most High does not mind being tested. He does not like being tempted. Do not tempt him. Didn't say don't test the Most High. It said do not tempt him. Do not tempt the Lord. Right. It's only logical Did he go all in on Moses? Look, man, I'm gonna break something down to y'all real quick. Ink and paper is evil to the Most High. Ink and paper is evil to the Most High. Men were not meant to write. This gives credence to why Moses had to etch everything in the stone. Moving past that and going back to what I was saying, the Most High does not mind being tested at all. And this is why he didn't get mad at Moses for asking what his name was. But he's like, my name is holy. He didn't want his name to be profaned in the first place. This is why it's why he never told his name to Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. Nobody knew his name, dude. Nobody knew his name. He was hesitant about that. And then not even that far into the expedition. Dude, not even an Israelite. Your mother's not even a real Israelite. She's Israelitish. But so she came out of the womb of an Israelite woman, but she's the seed of an Egyptian man. So really, your mother's Egyptian. Right. And there's been a line of Egyptian people able to stay with these Israelite people because for some odd reason, and this sounds just like black people now, want to hold everybody's hand because we all brothers, we all sisters. Right. Until they stab you in the back. And what happened? Because the name of the Most High was known, he was able to curse the name. And then what did Moses have to do? After dude was beat down, then stoned to death. He said, okay, look, the Most High said, check this out. This is where the eye for an eye is established. Truly established. Because the Most High is like, if somebody does that to my name, this is what they deserve. Right. Right. He cursed my name. The only logical penalty for them is death. That's the only logical penalty. You're out of here, dog. The fuck out of here. And people can be mad about it. They can be sad about it. They can be whatever. But because they don't have the ability to minus themselves from a situation, they don't have the ability to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not as right as I think I am. Maybe the Most High, as he says to us, my ways not being, you know what I'm saying, like you. Appreciate that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My ways not being like your ways, my thoughts not being your thoughts. People have to appreciate that. They have to really recognize how it all goes. And if they can't say, you know what? This is the way it is. I mean, case in point, people accept that they have to pay their bills and rent, but they can't accept that there's rules for dealing with the ultimate authority. It's insanity. It's madness. You literally, it has to be madness of the mind. Do you follow what I'm saying right now? Everybody listening understands the importance of paying their rent, their bills, the mortgage, all that stuff. But some of the people who are going to listen to it later, unlike everybody I know who I'm dealing with now, because I believe it's the same folks, we have to realize these rules are meant for us to follow. We follow all the other things. We give, I've already said it, give unto Caesar what is his. Right. Following behind of somebody who they don't ever think even existed anyway. The money is Caesar's. Caesar owns that. It's Caesar's face on the money. That's why he could say, give unto Caesar what is his. Right. If they knew anything about the anointed one, the elect one, when he comes back, silver, gold, copper, bronze, there we go, bronze, lead, nor soft metal being aluminum or tin, not going to deliver nobody, not going to do anybody any good. So it's like, yeah, whatever, give all of that to him. Because when I come back, I'm wrecking all of it anyway. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. All this money is their money. This quarter right here has George Washington's face on it. Give it back to them. Fuck it, they can have all of it back. If that's what it takes. Because like I said, I want the silver and the gold. I want the real shit. Fuck your paper money. I don't want that. I don't want that. Okay? I want the real shit. And if people can't deal with that level, then they can't fuck with me. These niggas are talking dollars, right? That's why I said these motherfuckers owe me at least $1 trillion. If we're talking dollars, you feel me? Because I need to be able to go and buy up a whole bunch of stuff. Because what you owe me for the blood spill, shed, tears shed, souls broken from my bloodline, just my bloodline alone, not any of the weary or leery people listening, those who have faith and hope in their hearts. No, just my bloodline alone. You owe me a trillion, and then they owe everybody else $1 trillion who's listening. Fuck them. They owe us. I'm talking about bankrupting this bitch, the whole planet. Everybody owes it. If these motherfuckers got a light bulb, anything that resembles a light bulb in their house, you owe black people, bitch. Fuck you. Excuse my language. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I don't talk about this type of stuff, because I really feel some type of way. You owe me. You owe me for every cent not paid. You owe me. That's how it is. And that's because these cats can't get like that. I can't rock with their movements. Won't rock with their movements. Putting it in and then getting nothing in return. One of the coldest things when he was going under baptized the scribe, one of the coldest things scribe ever said in passing in a video. When I say one of the coldest ever, I think about this shit all the time. He said, did dirt fucking cheap. And every time I think about that shit, I get so pissed off. I get so pissed off. Did the most for these motherfuckers for nothing, dog. You got me fucked up if you're talking about any kind of money. Give me everything. And then I'll tell you when I feel satisfied. Fuck that. They're not going to put guns in their own mouths and blow their own brains out. You understand that? They're not going to make right with their own blood. That's what they should do. They're the devil. Little dude will try to say, you know, that's your opinion. You know, they're the fucking devil. And I love telling them whenever I deal with one of them who's acting like one. I'm like, you're the devil anyway, dog. So I'm glad you have the sense to be who it is that you are. You ain't trying to hide it. Good for you. That's what the fuck they are. And they owe you. Anybody here gonna say that they don't owe you? Is there anybody here who feels like they're not owed? Once again, when I say that, this is why I stress it the most. We're from the fucking turf. Okay? We're from the turf. I'm not knocking black people from nowhere else. We're from the turf. When I say the turf, I'm talking about America. And it's been a turf boy grind since day one, since the strange Negroes touched down in this motherfucker. There has not been a day of rest. Born in the crunch time. Can you believe that? We were born into crunch time. There's other people who can't even feel the pressure that you feel because they're not in your skin. They don't have the biological constitution to understand the mechanisms that are against you that would even drive that sort of mentality. They don't get it. This is an honest review because this is about a bunch of different shit. It's not just about whatever political type shit. I'm glad it's evolved into where it's at right now. Give me 1 second. Right. No, bro. So much they owe me for. Man, like you said, Sister Tammy, they owe me with an exclamation point. Right. And that's how I want y'all to feel. You don't gotta act like that, but you really need to feel like, yeah, these motherfuckers owe me. Fuck that. They owe me. They owe me. They owe every Aboriginal person. They owe every non-Aboriginal person with dark skin. They owe them. Give me mines. See, I'm the type of person. Once again, they don't. This is why they can't let me get nowhere. Because I was telling black people to stop voting a minute ago. I told motherfuckers don't go and see how the fuck they act. Now these dudes just trying to act like this is shit that they've been on. Man, if you don't sit your worn out, tired ass down somewhere. I've been talking about this shit. I've been writing about this shit. I'm so real about what I say that I am. A nigga caught cases standing up for a dude who I thought was a brother. Turned out he's an African. Come on. Can they dig it? Do they dig it? Do they even know? See, back in the day, because these guys don't talk like this anymore, you know. But person would say, can you dig it? They say like a shovel. You know, I love it. I love it. The world is turning into something else that I've never seen. I've never seen the world like this. I'm in like culture shock right now. It's awkward to see from one generation to the other that there's no resemblance of the days of old. Almost none. It's scary. But it's exciting because I know that something's gonna happen. Come that day when it's time to get the fuck up out of here. I pray we're all in good health and all able bodied. I just pray that the Most High is with us. Fuck all that. Because as long as He's with us, it doesn't matter. I'll get to that place broken and get made whole. That is reparations, brothers and sisters. Being made whole. And since they can't give a man back the years that he serves in prison back onto his life, since they can't bring the dead back when they killed him unjustly and righteously, murdered him, since they can't give back the broken pieces of your soul that have been shattered everywhere and left asunder, they cannot make you whole. And no level of payment, no level of land that they give you will ever take the tinge of disrespect of your persons off of you. To be made whole will take something that is an unworldly force to do so. As you just said, sister, the Most High will have to fix this. They don't believe. They have no faith. That's what makes them sad. My next live stream, which should be tomorrow before I leave, I'm going to talk quickly on the fallen and the faithless prophet. And I'm going to break down why those are the people who are in charge of everything right now. They're the leading voices everywhere on YouTube, uh, in the mainstream, underground, whatever you want to say. Most of the time, it's the fallen ones. The fallen prophets of the, I don't like to call them fake, but they're faithless, even though they are fake. That's what makes them fake, is because they have no faith. See, when a man says, show me your works by your faith, that doesn't just mean show me what you have. Right. The fact that I'm alive that's not a work of myself. So how can I show you something within a mechanism that I am actually not responsible for? All I can show you is that I believe, regardless, through thick and thin. I will not curse his holy name. Do you think James could have said that in the presence of Job, a righteous Edomite, the righteous Edomite? Do you think he could have said that and got away with it without getting his lips slapped? Disciple or not? Right. So the context of that obviously means something else. And it means closer to what I just told you than somebody saying, show me what you got for what you believe. Because if an empty stomach is all it takes for you to stop believing in the Most High, then you are one of the people who, for a handful of barley and wheat, you gave up my fucking people. It is you if you are that type of weak ass person. But if it's not, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But those are the faithless, dirty bastards I'm going to talk about. They'll get their coverage tomorrow. But right now, we'll talk about other stuff. Because I don't want to get too boggled down to that. But they are unrighteous people. And they have for a long time led the people astray. I'm not saying I'm leading anybody. I'm just saying I got little information in my hip pocket that could be useful if applied properly. Wow. Simplistic, I know. But it's true. You know what a blessing was? I went to work the other night, and there's two machines I have worked on. One machine, I was able to get back into running operation. The other machine, when they didn't want to do their job as technicians and I couldn't remedy it myself, about the time to go, didn't check in with anybody, I just left. I'm out of here. Don't play that game with anybody. It's your time, brothers and sisters, and it's getting late, so I don't want to keep you up too long. But it's your time, right on. You have it to live, but first you have to survive. And that's there's so many different things I could say. I mean, that's why I can't keep it to just one thing ever, because there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about, literally, and to try to cover with people, just to say that we touched it. So maybe if it comes up again in your life, you can say, you know what, there was this one time a brother spoke to us about this, and he brought it up in passing, and it was just in passing. But here it is, it's playing a relevant factor in my life. If you guys owe money to these schools for student loans and you haven't been making payments, now is the time to start to make your payments. You understand? Now is the time. Now is the time to get serious. If you have unresolved issues on any level, that could result in you having to deal in litigation, just going to court, get on it now. Don't wait till these people have effectively cut us off from the southern hemisphere and make it to where flights into the US are limited, flights outside of the US are limited. Once they can do what they want to do, there's not going to be anybody to stop them. People haven't had to flee from one city to another. They haven't felt persecuted just yet. There's people who've been doing this their whole life, felt persecution their whole life, so it's different. So I can't speak for everyone, but what I can speak for, it's coming. That day of holy mother of you know what, it's coming. It's coming. And that's what they don't want to hear. It's coming, and they're gonna just sit there, and they're not gonna know what hit them. Like I said, some of these guys are gonna be able to take up power, but at the expense of you and me is how they're gonna do it. That's why you can't trust these people. These guys are trying to get a slot on YouTube TV. You listen to some of them how they talk. You really pay attention to what they're trying to do. They're trying to find their permanent fixture here on YouTube and get their stuff, put on the YouTube TV channel. You gotta really pay attention to some of these dudes and chicks. Their antics are at an all-time high. When I say all-time high, I mean all-time high. I got a couple more minutes and then I'm gonna let you guys roll out. So far this year, we have had the president cash in on the largest part of his campaign promises. Seems as if, can't say that he's a shoo-in to win the election for sure, if they somehow dredge up a scandal big enough to try to force an impeachment on him. But if if, if that doesn't happen, he's won. It's over. It's over already. But that's where it's at with him. Longest shutdown in history achieved. They think that there's a possible end to the trade war with China. Don't let these motherfuckers pull your leg. It's killing China's economy, right? It's hurting them so bad. It's hurting them. But because they have so much money put away, see, once again, how much money you say you make and how much money you actually have saved are totally different. And it's no different for any government. Where they say, yeah, we're in debt, but still they have other resources that they trade with that make these things take place. So just because China has certain businesses shutting down doesn't mean that, it's over for China. But did you know that China? I read about this almost a whole week ago. People are just not talking about it, but China's little quota for their babies. Of course, China has gold and silver. All those countries have gold and silver. All of them do. Any major player has gold and silver. It's just the way it has to be. But whatever you deal the most in is normally what you deal with. So, for example, before they murdered fucking Colonel Gaddafi, Omar was trying to, to get the banks of Africa and all those guys over there to switch their shit to gold. America said, no, we can't have that. Saddam Hussein, it was the same thing. They killed both of those dudes for the same reason. those two dudes probably should have got together. They probably would have lasted longer, and what they done and what they would have tried to do probably would have actually worked. But when you play puppet and you realize that your usefulness is about to come to an end, and now you want to do something that can change shit, it's too late. Way too late. Uh, what else? What else? What else? What else? Before I cut it off short. It has been a crazy. Oh man, been a hard year on the babies. Been a really hard year on the babies. Uh, I get sad when I think about it, but then again, it's like my heart is so hardened to other things. They upped it by one. They upped the baby quota one. So it was one person. It was, you can only have one baby. See, look, I'm gonna tell you why they upped it. They could tell you that it's because they're having a problem with people dying and not having enough children. But what it really is they're having a problem with homosexuality, and because they don't have a healthy way to curtail it through societal means, the only other logical way is to let people to have more children, so that way they can have more. So that way people are more willing to have girls. Like, you got to realize, if you could only have one kid, people were trying to only have boys. This is really what happened. A hell of people don't want to talk about this, okay? But because they tried so hard, give me one moment, Steve. I got you. But because they try so hard not to talk about this shit, people don't really realize that that's what actually took place in China. There was a lot of people who were already having 2 or 3 kids, excuse me, though they were supposed to have one. They might have had 2 daughters at first and then had a son. Boom, okay. The 2 girls might get kind of just, tossed out there to the wolves, so to speak, right? Yeah, of course they were killing babies, sister, but they were selling their daughters. They were selling their daughters. Why do you think the human trafficking shit in China is so tough? Man, the shit is so deep. See, once again, we don't have enough time to talk about all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, because what I really understand and what I really know, man, once again, they will try to shut a nigga down. But I'm going to talk about this just for a little second. Without getting too specific, the human trafficking market, you know what I mean? In China, you could really argue, took off with exponential speed once they put the first baby quota into effect. Not that people already weren't slaves on markets or didn't work for next to nothing. I think what a lot of people overlook is that if you watch a lot of the old school kung fu movies, only every once in a while are the heroes really rich people. Most of the time, they're poor bandits. Most of the time, or if they're not most of the time they're bandits, and the bandits are seen as heroes to the regular folks sometimes, if they're not terrorizing people. Just follow what I'm getting at. So the image of the regular Chinese person that was pretty much understood by the Chinese and to a lot of the world was your regular people for a long time were super duper poor and only certain people had it. So it was feasible even back in those days that, yeah, you wanted daughters to maintain the population, but ultimately you wanted a son who could probably get famous, because the best your daughter could do is hope to marry somebody famous, you see? And then, yeah, they're going to pay your family, for taking your daughter and this, that, and the other. You don't pay. See, and in a real understanding culture, when you take the woman because she's valuable, she gives you, she gives life, right on, to the place by giving children. She literally produces the babies in the bodies, you know. Uh, so she's a valuable commodity. So you trade in resources. I'm going to get a person who's going to have babies and give life to my empire. Here's silver, food, blah 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 blah, and some estate. Let me read what Stephen said real quick. I know, yeah, no, yeah, bro. That shit is real, dog. That shit is real. It's real, man. You know, unless you live in highly industrialized China, mainland China, and I'm talking about, you know, you got to be living in you have to be living in Beijing, right on, like in like the center of it, and have a really good job. It's over. It's over. But still, once again, that's my whole point right there, bro. Do you see how you point out how like they sexualize the young ladies? It, your ratio of women to men should always be foundationally, you know, overwhelming because there's wars. You follow what I'm saying? If there weren't wars ever and there was never conflict on the planet, I could see the ratio of men to women being closer to 1 to 1. But because there's been so many conflicts and so many men have died in those conflicts, the only logical reasoning is that women outnumber men substantially. And people don't even put that kind of shit into perspective. But because this is the truth, if you live in a country and your numbers are, you know, not 16 to 1, not 10 to 1, not 8 to 1, but closer to 2 to 3 to 1, that's crazy. They'll lie, try to say it's 5 to 6 to 1. Right on. They'll lie, but it's probably closer to 3 to 1. You wouldn't have this issue if everybody wasn't so impressed on having a little boy. But even in the Bibles, the glory of a son is celebrated over the glory of a daughter. And that's not to diminish women. That's just me pointing out something that is, you know, obviously notable. So chicks be like, oh, the Bible was written by misogynists. No, the Bible was written initially by people who ran the world in the society. So that's how they saw the world. That's how they probably still see it. Get over it, you know. Um, it chronicles the wickedness of men and women. It doesn't just point out what women do. It really points out what men do way more than what women do. And what the women do when it's wicked is so outrageous sometimes within the scripture. You're like, holy fuck. Can't believe she did that. Like when the chick got the other chick to cook her baby, they ate the baby. And then when it was time to do that to hers, right on, she was like, no. This is treachery at an all-time high. First off, to eat the baby. Right on? Right? Secondly, to have even contemplated eating your child or to have told us it's wickedness like this that I can't understand. It's evil. Evil. But this shit took place with people who look like me and you. Until people grasp that and accept it, revel in it a little bit so that way they can tell themselves the truth. It doesn't matter. See what I'm saying? The same things that people have been doing for thousands of years, they still do to today. Don't think there weren't sex traffickers back in the days of the biblical stuff. Of course there were. There was all kinds of crazy shit going on. Don't think there weren't equivalents to porn stars and all that shit. There was all that type of shit. These dudes who call themselves rappers, they're not new. They're not new. None of this shit is new. Music is not new. They didn't invent music. None of this shit is new, okay? Black people did not invent music in this country, all right? Music has been around for thousands of years. And it was invented before the flood. Right, right. Anyway, my people, because I'm getting ready to sign out and I'm feeling good about it. I think this is a much better note to end it on. Man, these dudes in the background, but don't calm down. Anyway, my people, we're here, not there. So we have to live like we're here and not there. We have to constantly re-upload the information it is that we think is fresh and relevant and make sure that it is still fresh and relevant. And when it no longer is, we must put it in its proper place so that way we can review it honestly to know what we are looking at, what we are dealing with, what we are seeing, ultimately to total our experience. It has been an honor, as it always is. Much love to my people. I'll see y'all probably in a few hours, give or take. Peace.